My thoughts on the Korean War, quote unquote, police action. At a certain age, boys in our state would have to register for the draft and carry a card because the war that was over wasn't really over. People were still getting drafted by the busload every month, taken down to Newark, given a final physical, and given a vacation on the U.S. government, of course, to a faraway place. We all ask the same question. Why? Why are we going there? Aren't they finished yet? Well, it was inevitable. So I got on the bus with my little kit, my razor and my soap, and off we went, and we got to the place of the final physical exam. And I asked the sergeant, "Can I go in the Marines?" And he says, "Keep moving, keep moving." And I said, "Okay, Sergeant, but I would prefer the Marines." "You would prefer?" He looked at his pal and said he would prefer if he go. Did you ever hear anybody taking a choice? And I was a little embarrassed. I was causing such a stir. The joke was on me. So we got our final physical and came out the other end and got taken to the airport and loaded on airplanes and flown down to the deep south. I have still never figured out why did they take us down into the swamps of Alabama to teach us how to fight a war up in a cold, snowy country. Well, it's not my call, is it? So here were fellas from all around the area where I grew up, a whole new experience. We didn't understand the politics of it, but we knew there was a line in the sand. You don't go beyond this line. Who ever heard of running a war like that? I thought the object would be to win, finish it up, go home, and everybody be nice. Not so, not so. So off we go to this police action of the government, and we go into a whole new world. This was the early 50s, and most of the fellas there were city boys, had never been anything else. And they take us down into the hot, hot summer and the mosquito-filled nights, and we got our training, and we got thoroughly trained, put on ships, and sent off to Korea to replace other American boys who were over there in the mud and the blood, wondering what this was all about, really. Did we change the world? I don't think so. Anyway, I kept trying to get in the Marines, and for some reason I just could not get transferred. I didn't know why, I couldn't find out why. They just kept saying, "Keep moving, keep moving." So in my case, I kept moving, and they split us into smaller and smaller and smaller groups until everybody was dispersed. And just at the dock, the last place I had to try, I said, "Can't I be a Marine? I don't mind going into Korea, but can I jump in airborne paratroopers? Why do I have to march in if I can jump in?" So here we were, and I was put into the military police, and I couldn't understand why from my applications and paperwork why they were putting me into a police job. It seemed like I was being pushed further east and south and into big places. Had no idea why. And until we got to our base where they were going to train us and teach us to be soldiers. It was a long way from home. We never did figure out what it was all about, but the politicians, of course, it was their call to draft so many this month, so many next month, cut back and only this on the other. There was no rhythm or rhyme to it. But on the plus side, I met a lot of really great guys. saw a lot of very interesting, different places. And I like that. I like to understand and see what's around me, who's around me. And I put in my 2 years, but midway through, the North Koreans surrendered and it was over. We stood there in disbelief. All this stuff, and now what? We're going home? Wow. Who made up this plan? Well, the good Lord works in strange ways. Here I was being drafted, thinking of going into a combat zone, lots of blood, lots of mud, and nobody had a good thing to say about it. And then all of a sudden, over the microphone came the news that the police action was over. The Koreans threw in the towel and quit, and the world could breathe easy again. But in the meantime, I was working in police work in Heidelberg, Germany, as far from Korea as you can imagine. I got to learn the language. I got to see a lot of places in Europe that I otherwise would never have seen. And in my particular case, I feel I came away ahead of the game because of the people I met. Yeah, I'm all set. Now, in between all of this police work in Europe and Germany in particular, I learned a lot about people, all different kinds of people, and I learned about places. I got to see what I'd heard, never saw before. But I also made more than just several good friends. I met the woman I would end up marrying and raising a family with in the United States. And we lived happily ever after. Amen.